As long as my little gamer hands could hold a controller, I've been told that video game choices matter, with decisions that could completely change the story, whether that be saving somebody's life or fist bumping somebody at a urinal. And when you're sitting in that moment, it can feel real. As the music swells and the timer clicks down, you sit back and think. In that moment, the line between player and character is blurred. Like whatever you pick says something about who you are as a person. And some choices you don't even hesitate and leave feeling less enthused than when you started. Instead of letting yourself live through the game, you're asking yourself what leads to the best outcome. So why does it feel like some choices truly matter in games while other games are ruined purely because they give you the ability to make choices? In Resident Evil 7, there's a choice that left me feeling really disappointed as I rounded the last few hours of the game. In the game, you go to a creepy house to find your wife, Mia, who has disappeared. In doing so, you go to the south and you end up finding a family who's become mold monsters, and you have to fight through this haunted house to find her. So when you're given the choice to escape or leave for dead, the love of your life, or a woman you met a couple hours ago who's part of the monster family, but seems pretty chill, I guess. Am I supposed to have some moral quandary about leaving her behind? By her, I mean my wife. Thinking back, it felt like it was less impactful than if I had no choice at all. But there are choice-based games that I love so much purely because of the impact that I personally have on the story. So in comparing the two, I found that to add players' input into the game, every choice needs to make sense, feel supported by the story, and actually matter. And I don't want to dwell on it, but in Resident Evil 7, the choice that is given to you goes directly against what the main character has been doing for the first 8 hours of the game. So after so much storytelling being made in one direction, it feels so wrong to go with any other decision. When you have a say in the game's outcome, the immersion should come from struggling to pick a path. Because without that moral ambiguity of what decision you should make, it's all defined in black and white, which makes it so much harder to lose yourself in the game. It's like coming up to a bridge and a troll pops out to say,
"Do you save this little child who's obviously going through a hard time, or harvest her body, which is obviously a crime?
Can I use that bridge?
If you dare, but slippery that bridge be over there."
Okay, I'm just gonna use that bridge then. Now, there are many games where you're so invested in the story that the decision actually affects you personally. The one where you pause the game and go for a walk because the next decision will decide what the next 10 hours of gameplay looks like. And finally, you come back to your game ready to make your final decision. You unpause the game and did the timer always go down that fast? Click it, click it, click it, click it.
Rat got your tongue?
He's awkward. If you couldn't tell, when there are games that actually matter, I am deathly afraid of making the wrong decision. And it's not because of why you think. I'm afraid of making the wrong decision because it's often that one choice that leads to a better outcome that's like more supported by the rest of the story, or saving myself from a virtual character, giving me the equivalent of the shame walk in Game of Thrones, just because I made a decision that the game offered me. What I realized is that games ask us to make moral decisions that ultimately affect the game, but often one choice is much better than the other. And it ended up in me asking less of what would I do, and instead, what's gonna lead to the best loot and the best story. And that's where the immersion of the story dies, because you're playing as you think you should act in the world, instead of making choices based off of your own morality or your own interest in seeing different paths. In which case, why would they give you a choice at all? In Cyberpunk, when a certain character meets their untimely demise, you have the choice to send their body to the local doctor, in my understanding, to clean the body up, or have the equivalent of Waymo drop their bullet-ridden body in front of their mother. This is such a minor choice in the game, but what they don't tell you is that if you send the body to the doctor, you'll miss out on one of my favorite side quests in the game, and you don't get the full ending of that character's storyline. Both are written to be tonally realistic to the story, but one results in a lack of content that I feel like makes the story feel less immersive. Also, you don't get that person's cool guns. I mean, that's secondary, but I've been known to like loot. I mean, it's not like that person's gonna use it anymore. So even when the choices make sense, the outcome can break your illusion. In my head, there should be no choice that ultimately takes away from your game so much that you don't want to make decisions in your decision-making game. I already have to deal with my real life choices leading to a fulfilling path in life. Imagine if I told you all the possible futures that you could have had if you didn't make the wrong choices in life. Without considering this, I can't even come to a moral decision or lose myself in the game, because it's more like working out a formula than a philosophical dilemma. That's not to say that I don't think that there should be bad outcomes, but what I'm looking for in a game is that they're supported equally. A game that really does this well is Disco Elysium, where every decision, either morally bad or reprehensible, adds to the immersion of the world. Let's say you do the unspeakable and throw this old man's ball into the sea because you're an asshole, or because you're a person who has to pick every option on the dialogue tree. That's me. These kinds of choices lead to different people not liking you, and when you add themes and choices around your own character's redemption, that makes for a really interesting game. So while there might be options that would align with what you would choose, it needs to deliver on all of the same storytelling paths so that us anxiety-ridden optimizers can feel like we can let loose in the techno-feudalist world that is Night City, or the corrupt, cynical world of Disco Elysium, or I could take my medication. But then the voices would stop. Games need to also balance all of this while understanding their limits. For example, if you were to write out what you would eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but each choice changes what your next one will be, now apply that to a story-driven game where every major decision has to be left up to the player. If you have 3 different big choices, you have to write 7 believable storylines that are as satisfying as they are realistic. And considering some storylines that have come from AAA games with no choices at all, apparently asking for one is too much. So the question is, if you're a developer, what's the answer? It seems like there's no winning because the work is going to compound on itself. The answer is actually pretty simple. What if, when we implement freedom of choice in games, we just didn't? This is truly what makes some other games succeed while others do not. Games like Dispatch, Until Dawn, and Disco Elysium, because they are character-driven stories that lock you into a plot that seemingly has a lot of effect on the game, when in reality it's written in a way to not add more paths, but disguise the same ones. The studios behind these games are like magicians. They're not going to attempt to do real magic. They're more like David Copperfield, less like Merlin. The great ones know that they can't. But using their knowledge and the tools at their disposal, they can distort reality, abracadabra, and pull a rabbit out of a hat. In Dispatch, the most complicated thing is actually the relationships. And in my mind, that's only added to make the world feel more real than it actually is. I feel as though like romanceable characters are an easy way to add immersion to a game because it allows you to connect with these characters on a deeper level and feel that immersion in the game more than in others. Yeah, your romanceable character is basically just a magician's assistant meant to distract you while they pull off the trick. And they got y'all distracted. Royd, the character you should be fawning over, is probably still holding up his hand for a fist bump in the bathroom. Guys, 7% of you are monsters. But it doesn't feel like a trick when you're playing. Dispatch specifically has thoughtfully curated this story to give you a game with good moral choices, but it does a lot to make those choices more believable. They add reminders that your actions have more of an impact on the game than they actually do. So when you fist bump the real magician's assistant in the bathroom, maybe he does remember that. The storytelling is tight, character-based, and provides reasoning for every choice that is presented. The choices you make affect how your character interacts with the world, but aren't written enough to throw you off the few storyline paths. This game works because it feels like every choice is supported, even if it leads you to the same place. And that's why video games are such a great storytelling mediums. It just can be awkward because having that meaningful choice is much harder to implement than we think. That's what's beautiful to me about choice-based games. I know that the magician knows what card I pulled. What's interesting to me is to see the trick, to lose yourself in the wonder of the possibilities and to watch them pull it off. Or maybe we truly have no free will. Maybe we're just cogs to the developer in the sky that coded us. Just something to think about. Thank you for watching my video. Until next time, I will leave you with a choice. See ya.